It's Monday, July 8th, 2024. Operation Remove Biden is well into week 2. Ballot stuffing at ballot drop boxes is back in the Badger State, and pro-lifers avoid prison time. Next on the AM Update. But first, international news from the country of France. A far-left political coalition that unexpectedly assembled ahead of France's snap elections is projected to win the plurality of parliamentary seats up for grabs. And the country's prime minister announced his intention to resign, leading the country into unforeseen territory and possible turmoil. As the election results came in, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal announced he'd be turning in his resignation today. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance was projected to take the second most seats, while the far right was projected to come in third. A lot of talk coming into this election, this runoff snap election in France. A lot of talk about the far right national rally, I should say, dominating this election cycle. Now it appears the communists and the full-on leftists have won in France, although no coalition has a clear majority in those elections. Well, the all-out media blitz to try to remove Joe Biden from office entered its second week recently. It all began, of course, with Biden's disastrous debate performance late last month. For his first interview back since that debate performance, Biden spoke to George Stephanopoulos on ABC News.
If you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do.
The goodest job he knew he could do. That's not going to please a lot of people who are attempting to call for Joe Biden to step aside. Here's another clip from that interview where George Stephanopoulos asks about Biden's debate performance.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look. The whole way I prepared, nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council.
So compare that Joe Biden to the 2020 Joe Biden during his interview on 60 Minutes.
Will pay a penny more in tax under my proposal.
That's a promise.
That's a guarantee, a promise. I give you my word as a Biden. That's an absolute guarantee.
And you think it's a good idea to raise taxes when the economy's in dire straits?
Depending who you're raising them on. Look, if you're raising somebody who's making $1 billion a year, it's not a problem if they pay 39.6%, which everybody should pay, raise another $90 billion.
So that is Joe Biden in 2020. He was gaffe-prone and starting to show signs of dementia back then, but it does sound like a completely different individual. Over the weekend as well, Biden told a Philadelphia radio station the following.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do, because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
Yikes, 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 yikes. Proud to be the first black woman to serve with a black president. Over the weekend as well, this is maybe starting to be a bigger story. James Clyburn, you want to know what a mover and shaker and a power broker in the Democrat Party is? It is James Clyburn. He is the one who maybe single-handedly was able to necromance Joe Biden during the 2020 Democratic primary. He has been kind of with Biden tenuously over the last week or so. Over the weekend, he was due to appear on CBS News' Face the Nation, but canceled at the last minute. Clyburn's staff didn't tell CBS why he needed to cancel, but he's the one who made Biden, at least this go around, and I have to think he could be the one to break him as well. Elsewhere around the Democratic power sphere, here's Adam Schiff, who's very close with Nancy Pelosi, talking to Kristen Welker on Meet the Press.
The performance on the debate stage, I think, rightfully raised questions among the American people about whether the president has the vigor to defeat Donald Trump. And this is an existential race. Given Joe Biden's incredible record, given Donald Trump's terrible record, he should be mopping the floor with Donald Trump. Joe Biden is running against a criminal. It should not be even close, and there's only one reason it is close, and that's the president's age.
So again, that is from Adam Schiff of California, who's very close with one Nancy Pelosi, another power broker in the Democrat Party, talking about Biden's age being the only reason why this race is close. I don't think that's completely and necessarily the whole truth, but I have never seen anything like this. For going on 2 weeks now, just an all-out assault on a sitting president of the United States, one who is a Democrat and wields power. I've never seen this sort of assault on a Democrat who actually is able to wield real power. Now, of course, we know Joe Biden isn't wielding that power. It's those around him. But I've never seen something like this before. The last time we spoke, I was still in the camp that Joe Biden is going to stay in the race regardless of what everybody around him wants him to do. I'm now narrowly on the side of he's gone. He's just gone. I don't think they can withstand this for another month or so, which is about the time frame they have left before they can make any real changes, either before the Democratic convention or at the convention itself. Never seen anything like this before. So naturally, our attention starts to focus towards Kamala Harris. New York Times, right on cue over the weekend, published this story, the reintroduction of Kamala Harris. Vice President Kamala Harris has spent the past year trying to quiet her doubters. Now, with President Biden's candidacy on the line, Democrats are assessing whether she's up to being the nominee. Here's Harris just last week talking about the upcoming election.
This is probably the most significant election of our lifetime. You know, we have said it every 4 years, but this here one is it. We are looking at an election that will take place in 122 days.
122.
Where on one side, you have the former president who is running to become president again, who has openly talked about his admiration of dictators and his intention to be a dictator on day one, who has openly talked about his intention to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
So that's going to be Biden's replacement, maybe, if he ever steps aside. Kamala Harris. Talking about Trump weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies, that sounds familiar. One more thing about Biden. This story was big over the weekend as well. Radio hosts who interviewed Biden are coming forward now saying aides to the president provided questions in advance. Joe Biden's team provided a list of questions to a radio host who interviewed the president this week in the aftermath of his debate performance. Andrea Lawful Sanders, host of The Source in Philadelphia, said, quote, "The questions were sent to me for approval, and I approved them." She made those comments during a Saturday interview with CNN's Victor Blackwell. When Blackwell asked Lawful Sanders whether the White House had sent her questions for approval, she said, yes, quote, "I got several questions, 8 of them, and 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved." CNN reporting later clarified it was the president's campaign that handled the interview. That does not sound unfamiliar whatsoever. It's been long speculated, and really, it's less than speculation. There have been pictures of Joe Biden's note cards when he's going up to the podium to various press conferences with instructions on whom to call for the next question. This has long been speculated, but now this rando radio host in Philadelphia seems to confirm our suspicions. Other election news. Wisconsin's Supreme Court ruled on Friday that officials can indeed place ballot drop boxes around their communities in this fall's election, overturning its own ruling 2 years ago, limiting their use in the presidential swing state. The court limited the use of the drop boxes in July of 2022, ruling then that they could be placed only in local election clerks' offices, and no one other than the voter could return a ballot in person. Conservatives controlled the court at that time, but Janet Protasewicz's election victory in April of 2023 flipped the court to liberal control. Seeing an opening, Priorities USA, a progressive voter mobilization group, asked the court in February to revisit the decision. At least 29 other states allow for absentee ballot drop boxes, according to the U.S. Vote Foundation. An expanded use in Wisconsin could have a major ramification in this November's election. And now here's this. Donald Trump is distancing himself from his own base. Former President Donald Trump on Friday sought to distance himself from a closely aligned conservative group's plan to radically reshape the federal government in American life should the former president win a second term. In a post on his social media site, Trump claimed, quote, "I know nothing about Project 2025, the name given to a playbook crafted by the Heritage Foundation to fill the executive branch with thousands of Trump loyalists and reorient its major agencies' missions around conservative ideals." Trump continued, "I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them." So essentially what Project 2025 is, it's a foundation, it's a group formed by the Heritage Foundation that is filled with former staffers of Donald Trump, Trump loyalists, people closely aligned with the America First ideology, if you want to call it that Donald Trump seemingly espoused at one point. And basically what Project 2025 is a job board to fill and staff a potential next Trump administration with people who actually believe in the president's agenda, unlike last go around. And now he is very publicly saying some of the things they believe are abysmal. Basically what he's saying is the things they believe are some of the same things that I say I believe, and I now believe that they're abysmal. Essentially what Donald Trump is saying is, I'm distancing myself from my own base. My own base is abysmal. Is he really trying to win this election or not? Otherwise, he's been pretty quiet since the aftermath of the Biden debate. But doing this to his own base, it makes me question whether he wants to win. And finally, we'll end on some good news. A Tennessee husband and pro-life father of 11 was sentenced to 3 years of supervised release on Tuesday in connection with a 2021 demonstration at a baby-killing facility. The sentence issued by U.S. District Judge Alita Trauger avoids prison time for Vaughn, who faced more than a decade behind bars. The Thomas More Society, the legal firm that represents Vaughn, celebrated the outcome. In a released statement, the society pledged to seek to overturn his conviction and challenge the constitutionality of the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, or the FACE Act, which Vaughn was convicted of violating. Vaughn said he rejoiced in God's plan for the sentence he received from the court. He still looks forward to appealing the verdict. Quote, "Laws have to be grounded in truth. They have to align with the ultimate lawgiver, who is Christ our Lord." Vaughn's sentence comes 5 months after a federal jury in January convicted him and 5 other activists each of a misdemeanor charge of violating the FACE Act, as well as a felony charge of conspiracy against rights. 6 other demonstrators who showed up to the Carafim Health Center clinic outside Nashville in early March were indicted and eventually convicted of similar charges. In addition to Vaughn, they include Chester Gallagher, Heather Idoni, Calvin Zastro, Coleman Boyd, and Dennis Green. All 6 activists faced a maximum sentence of up to 10 and a half years in prison. So it's good that Paul Vaughn plans to appeal this ruling, but it's also great news that regardless of what happens, he's avoiding going to prison. He's got 11 children. I can't imagine going through this in his shoes. I can't imagine being in his shoes whatsoever. But now his family gets to keep him at home, at least for now. That is some good news, and that's how we'll end it on this Monday. Back at it again, hopefully, tomorrow.